on fully autonomous weapons, the logic, as I understand it, it is not so much about democratic values. It's more that you think the technology is not ready for your models to be used fully autonomously. You have a different view of the capabilities of the technology, perhaps, than the Department of War.
Yeah, you can think of this as like a supplier of aircraft who says this aircraft is not safe to fly above a certain altitude or to turn at a certain speed. We didn't make these systems to be safe if you use them in that particular way, right? They're not suitable for this use case.
And in that, was there anything specific? I mean, your model was used in Venezuela. It's being used in Iran. Is there anything in these existing use cases that has worried you?
So one thing I want to say is we started with a substantially more limited contract that enabled a more limited number of use cases that I think is in force maybe even until today. This was all about negotiating a new contract. So we had even a substantially more limited contract for quite a long time, and that more limited contract, they didn't run into problems with it on the ground. So none of this was driven by, we have concerns right now about what the Department of War was doing,
so
right?
Iran is fine and Venezuela was fine.
I'm not expressing an opinion either way on military policy or government policy.
I'm just the use of your models. You had no concerns.
If you provide a service, you don't get to decide where that service is used. There's this operational side of military decisions. Of course, we don't have any say about that. What we do have say over is this question of like very broad use cases, right? It's not about any administration. It's not about any policy. It's like, how should this technology be used in general? This is about going forward. How should we think about the uses and the governance of this technology? And so when we talked about fully autonomous weapons, I said there were two objections. The first one I said was reliability. The second one I said was what I would call oversight. There are norms about serving in the military. You're supposed to follow orders, but if something crazy enough happened, the soldiers would say, I'm not going to do that, right? What if you have an army of 10 million drones instead of 10 million human soldiers? What are the norms of the AI-driven drones? I think if we handle this wrongly, you could have a situation where there's a very small number of people or one person who has their hand on the button. And we need to answer these questions because we don't want to make companies more powerful than the government, but we also don't want to make government so powerful that it can't be stopped. We have both problems at once.